New mom told husband I'm scared as doctors took her away for 15 minutes. Then the unthinkable happened. Kira Johnson and her husband Charles were thrilled when they found out they would reach their dream of having 2 boys back to back after having welcomed their first one before marrying. The soon-to-be mother of 2 was happy and healthy as she carried their second child to term. Charles Johnson IV and his wife, whom he married about a year before she became pregnant with their second son, didn't expect anything to go wrong when she needed to give birth. They chose one of the best hospitals, Cedars-Sinai, believing Kira would be in good hands. On April 13, 2023, a news and media website in Atlanta profiled the couple's case with a YouTube report where Charles confessed about the fateful day. "We walked in for what we expected to be the happiest day of our life. We walked straight into a nightmare." How things went wrong that day seemed like a dream or story someone made up. Things went from great to horrible quickly, despite Kira having a normal birth and even holding her son afterward. At the beginning of the YouTube clip, Charles revealed how excellent Kira was before the tragedy happened. He said she was incredibly versatile, spoke 5 languages, drove race cars, traveled, and was compassionate and loving. Charles had video footage to show how much of a light in his life his wife had been. The couple welcomed their first child, a son, before getting married and joked that their lives were like a movie as they continued having adventures with their firstborn. After doing so many things together for 10 years, Charles surprised Kira with a white dress before going down on one knee and proposing. Without wasting time or delaying, the pair married a few hours later and posed at the beach for some pictures. One image showed the groom carrying his bride in his hands as she wore the gorgeous dress he'd bought. Their joy was only elevated a year later when they discovered they were pregnant for the second time. Kira's husband continued showing her love by surprising her with a trip to Palm Springs while she carried their child. The couple was ecstatic to be welcoming another baby boy, and Kira was in her best health state. Even during prenatal screenings, doctor told her she was well and the baby was doing great. Kira's labor was expected and her second son, Langston Johnson, was born on April 12, 2016 without complications, leaving everyone happy. Langston's mother appeared to have recovered fine from the birth and got to meet and kiss him tenderly in the recovery ward. Then Charles noticed blood in his wife's catheter at her bedside and something wasn't right. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. Kira's husband alerted the staff of the issue and asked them to examine her, but she didn't seem like a priority to them for some reason. What happened next changed the trajectory of the Johnson family forever. When Charles realized something was wrong, he notified the nurses and doctors. A CT scan was ordered that was meant to be performed stat, which Charles thought meant they'd attend to his wife immediately. In the meantime, Kira started shaking, was sensitive to the touch, began losing color, and was crying as she began feeling more pain. It was clear she was hemorrhaging internally, and as her symptoms escalated and time went by, Charles tried getting answers and pushing the staff to do something. At one point, the father of 2 pulled a nurse aside pleading for help, and she told him Kira wasn't a priority at that moment. It took the hospital nearly 7 hours and only until midnight before a doctor finally asked for an internal scan of the mother at 2 and surgery. However, the truth was that it would be the last time Charles saw his wife alive. Before his wife was taken away to the OR, she instinctively reached out to him as he was walking beside her bed and grabbed his hand before confessing, "Baby, I'm scared." Not knowing those would be the last words he heard from his wife, a doctor who walked next to Kira's bed vowed that he'd fix what was wrong. The doctor seemed quite confident in himself and even reassured Charles by telling him she'll be back in 15 minutes. The next thing, Charles was informed by staff that Kira was gone and there was nothing they could have done to save her. Judge Glenda Hatchett, Kira's mother-in-law, said Langston's mother hadn't been sick nor did she have any pre-existing conditions. Charles's wife didn't have a heart condition or a blood clot but died because the medical staff failed to act fast enough, leaving her struggling for 10 hours. The OR doors were open for Kira to enter, but that was the last time her husband saw her alive when they closed behind her. The mother of 2 left a broken family of 2 sons who didn't have a mother and a husband with no spouse. Charles boldly took on raising their children by himself as a single parent and became an activist who fought for women's rights. According to Dorothy Roberts, a University of Pennsylvania professor, Black women had a higher chance 3 to 4 times to die from pregnancy-related issues. She noted how wrong it was that it was a fact of life. However, she explained this wasn't caused because Black women had a gene that made that possible. The reason why it happened was because Black and white women weren't treated equally. Charles was upset that his sons had to grow up without their mother and felt there was no valid reason for that to be the case. He felt Kira deserved better than to have her life cut short and miss out on things like her children's first soccer games. When the father of 2 started sharing his late wife's story, he founded the For Kira For Moms nonprofit. The organization aimed to give a voice to the voiceless by giving people a platform to speak about the same incidents that took Kira's life. However, Charles confessed that he believed most doctors, nurses, and medical staff worked hard to improve their patients' lives, but blatant negligence and discrimination required accountability. What Kira's husband wished to achieve was to reshape the medical system so that it accommodated patients instead of providers and stop putting profits over patients. Although Charles had a happy home full of smiles, dancing, birthday parties, and so much more, nothing filled the gap he left behind by his wife. He struggled the most when his child woke up in the middle of the night and demanded his mother. The father of two hoped to help other spouses to avoid having that difficult conversation with their children, as that would be worth it. Charles wouldn't allow the way his wife died to be a norm in the country and for Kira and other women's sacrifices to be in vain. He vowed not to have it be an issue when his children gave him grandchildren.